One thing that I did think that I did wrong is thinking I could do it all. And I think, I don't know, this could go for either spouse, right? When you're coming into a business and based on what you're doing business in, it's like you have this, oh, I can do that attitude. I could take care of that attitude. And it just keeps adding to your list. And even if you're a checklist person, like, I'm going to put it on the list, check it off, put it on the list, check it off, and do something, then put it on the list, check it off after I've done it. Like, if you're that person and you think you can do everything, it becomes fun at first in a way because you feel like you're accomplishing something. And I felt like I was accomplishing something for you in your practice. And because I wanted to really maintain the name you had, the reputation you had, and even elevate that. But then it also became, I'm doing way too much.
Welcome to the Win Love Alliance podcast. We're your co-hosts, Bashe and Tara Williams. The purpose of this podcast is to challenge a narrative, disrupt the status quo, while being a voice of reason for singles, couples, families in the Black community.
And for healthy, practical, and unconventional ways to heal, build, and grow your relationship, join us weekly here on the Win Love Alliance podcast.
What's it like working for me?
I may need my glasses for this segment because it was, in the beginning, it was interesting.
So when you say the beginning, are you talking about prior to marriage? Because I think we should start there.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. All right. So in the beginning, in the very, very beginning, when you hired me to be your brand manager,
Slow-footed hiring you?
yeah, you did move very slow in the beginning, but you shared your reservations because of past experiences, right? So we had that conversation that kind of allowed me to gain understanding into how you operated, because I did feel you were moving slow and you weren't serious. So that your slow movement, to me, I interpreted as, oh, he's not serious or about his business.
Well, let's just talk about that because I think people need to know kind of like that history of it. And so like, we all know how we met. But when you reached out through LinkedIn and kind of like encouraged me to follow through, again, some of my past stuff came up. Where I've, worked with different people and they've kind of manipulated or taken advantage, or, I was kind of like had my reservations and was hesitant towards working and also trusting someone with my brand, and then also paying someone to help me when I felt like I can do it myself, but also realizing that it was too much to try to do myself.
Yeah.
So it was all those different things that kind of made me hesitant to working with you. And it was nothing about you. It was nothing, but I'm glad I got over that, because once we did start working together, the magic happened.
Yeah. And for me, just like as how I work, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm very, okay, let's get this done. Here are these opportunities. You need to move. Let's do this. Let's do this. So I was very like regimented in how I operated. So I kind of had to acquiesce to like, okay, this is his process, but also we're not going to miss out,
Right.
because I didn't feel like, okay, I don't want him to just stay in his comfort zone or his fears. Let's move because there's greater waiting. That's kind of like, I was like, okay, so what you going to do with the contract? And it was things I knew were coming up that would be good for you. And I didn't want you to miss that because you were sitting in that space that I really didn't know about yet.
Yeah.
So
it's also being overwhelmed too, because there was two parts of me, right? There was the Bashe Williams is supposed to be the speaking and doing all the other stuff, and then there was the Paul Bashe Williams who does the private practice, and so that was overwhelming seeing clients, and then you're like talking about opportunities and stuff like that. I see it, and literally I would look at the opportunities and just freeze.
yeah,
Like the decision fatigue that you initially didn't believe in.
yeah,
But it was just like, it was tough. It was just like, all right, I know what I want. I know what I have to do. But putting it to practice was another commitment, another duty that I had to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So during that time, it was kind of like, okay, let's get going. I thought you were like slow. But when I got to understand why, I was then, okay, that's cool. We get the understanding. But hey, let's really, really move. Because you had a brand already. It wasn't like I'm coming in creating you from scratch. You had something that I could actually rebrand and work with in a way that was still true to your authentic self, but also just kind of elevated who you were. And getting into some of the same spaces you had already been in and some new spaces. So that part of it was fun. It was kind of back then. I felt like you would just listen to anything I said too.
Yeah, because I trusted you. Like
that's not the case now.
Yeah, because once you showed the authenticity, once you showed results, once it was following through, and once I realized I had to get out of my own way.
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, I know if she says this is not about her. That was one of the things that stuck out the most. You made it clear that regardless of anything that happens, it's not about you. Like, you are pouring into me, and I received that, and I was like, okay, I can trust her. I know she's not going to manipulate, steer me the wrong way, set me up or anything like that. So I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. Okay, I trust you. Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
I need you to do that all the time.
Nah, it's a whole different ball game
well,
now.
Yeah, because now we're in marriage. We went from just me working for you with your brand to now kind of crossing over. Not only did our business kind of relationship shift in marriage, what I liked though when we first got married, you really were very thoughtful around, okay, how can we make our partnerships blend? And so you were like, you do the branding, I do love and relationships. Let's come up with our own brand. It could be The Branded Love. And I thought that was so brilliant because it still was letting me do what I loved, and you still were in the space of the things that you love.
Right.
Because I did find myself, after we got married and got in the groove of different things, getting lost in what I felt you needed that you didn't have someone to do. And we'll get into that. And so with that whole The Branded Love piece, it was like we were finding this common ground for us to not only be married, but to build a legacy together. So,
and I remember
that.
I don't know if you remember, in the beginning when I was like, you have so much value to offer in this relationship space. And you were like, no, but I'm not a therapist. I'm not an expert.
I could tell y'all what not to do, ladies.
but it was so much value in just the conversation. And then you would get the feedback. And I was just like, it was kind of like the same thing now that you needed, the same thing I needed. I had to give to you in that relationship space. I was just like, there's people who pop up and just start talking about relationships and have validity, and some people don't have validity. But you have a voice and you have so much knowledge to share based on experiences, based on things that you studied. Like, even though I have these years of practice, like, I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
Like, I need the compliment. Like, that's what The Branded Love was all about.
Yeah. So we made that a business, y'all.
Yeah.
A company. One of them. So fast forward to we get married, and I see, I have a closer view of your practice side of your business. So I was the BasheWilliams.com, that's what I was working with. But also what you did was a compliment to that, because I was able to get you into some, like I said, some of the same spaces on a different level, and then some new spaces. But coming into looking at how your business was going and the things you needed and some of the pain points for you in your business, I was like, oh, I can do that. I can serve in this capacity, and I can do this. And you were reluctant in that. And until when did it all change? Let's tell. Well,
I'm gonna tell you why I was reluctant. I was reluctant because of all the things that we were already doing together.
Yeah.
And all the things that you were doing individually. Like, to jump into that space is a whole different dynamic. You have to be trained. You have to go through this whole process. And also, you have to remove some of your heart into this. And the last thing I wanted you to experience is being overwhelmed by some of the challenges that clients have. Because when they call looking for help.
Yeah.
And so whoever answers, they're considered the help.
And I want to chime in, because one thing that I did think that I did wrong is thinking I could do it all. And I think, I don't know, this could go for either spouse, right? When you're coming into a business and based on what you're doing business in, it's like you have this, I can do that attitude. I could take care of that attitude. And it just keeps adding to your list. And even if you're a checklist person, like, I'm going to put it on the list, check it off, put it on the list, check it off, and do something, then put it on the list, check it off after I've done it. Like, if you're that person and you think you can do everything, it becomes fun at first in a way because you feel like you're accomplishing something. And I felt like I was accomplishing something for you and your practice. And because I wanted to really maintain the name you had, the reputation you had, and even elevate that. But then it also became, I'm doing way too much.
Yeah.
And then the lines get blurred.
Yeah. So, and with that process is, like, the practice was, like, people were calling every day, tons of calls. And what I needed was admin work, right? But I was like, let me hire out. Let me go get somebody else to do that because that's just a pain point that I can't manage. Yeah. Clients, staff, and all of that. So, and I did that. I went and got somebody to do my billing and all that. And I woke up one day to, like, what was it, like $3,
$1.29.
Yeah.
A check for $1.29. And I had been asking him, like, hey, let me do your billing. Let me do your billing.
No, it's because it's been a whole process. So I used to do it. The system changed. My mom used to do it. She used to get frustrated. She tried to get the training. And then I eventually hired out. And again, that process, because it was maybe 8 months that I wasn't getting paid from a particular insurance.
Yeah.
But I was still seeing clients because ethically that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God for other streams of income.
Yeah, it wasn't the client's fault. It was
right. It definitely wasn't
the people that you had doing that at the time. And then when you woke up to that check,
I was just like, let me.
You can do it now, Tara.
Here you go. Here's the training. See if you can do it. And she was on it. She was on it.
And I when I take on something, I go in.
Yeah.
And so being able to go in and recoup what you were missing out on, because I see how hard you work. I see how you go in the office at 9 in the morning and come out at 7 at night. So we're going to get that money back because you're worth that. But it also became going back to how your work style is and how I am. I'm real I need this answer right now because we got to get this done. And he couldn't always do that. So that became a point of contention because it was I'm already doing this all day. I can't take on your questions too. And then I'm like, well, I'm trying to get this money help you. And I need these answers to make this happen. So when you're in business together in marriage, you have to really say, hey, this is the business we want to do. What's the common ground? Or this is what I'm doing right now. I need your help with it because this is your area of expertise and not mine. So I think, and we're going to get into that in a minute about really finding where you live in that business partnership. What lane are you in that business partnership when you're married?
And that goes into the kind of what we had to have a serious discussion about boundaries, about what it looks like. I think you were, again, like you just said, you like to go in and kind of have your own system and have your own way of doing things. But it doesn't work for somebody. It doesn't work for your employer.
Yeah.
Right. And so we had to have the conversation and saying, hey, you're not my partner in this. You're my employee in this particular space.
Yeah.
Because you were just going.
Yeah.
And then there's some other challenges that might cause serious problems within my business.
Yeah.
And so once we had that conversation, you didn't like it at first. But
it wasn't a conversation, y'all. It was an all-out argument in the basement.
Yeah, but no, we were outside, remember?
No, you were on a treadmill. You were on a treadmill in the basement.
I think we had to follow up outside on the patio.
Yeah, it was an all-out argument. And and I respect what you said, but I also had got in this space of I'm doing all this work, you getting all this money back, and I'm did it. It was almost like I felt like you were kind of belittling what I was doing in a way.
No.
But it wasn't. No, I had to really get in tune with that. It was more along the lines, hey, some of the things you're doing, even though your intentions are good, the impact could have a negative impact on the practice. And so coming to that realization, then I got in an understanding because lines can get very blurry.
Yeah. And I'll just say the way I broke it down was you have TGW.
Yeah.
We're not partners in that. That's your company.
Yeah.
We have The Brand and Love. We're partners in that. That's our company. I have Hearts and Mind Counselor. We're not partners in that. right? So
Yeah.
that's how we kind of like broke it down. So I'm saying, like, I would not come into your company and just tell you what to do, or just kind of move papers around and do whatever it is. And so that was the understanding, but that was the extended conversation about
Yeah.
showing the actual examples of what it looks like. Because I'm showing that I'm honoring you in your space, like the
Yeah.
branding, like what do you need, like how can I support you?
Yeah.
So that once you present it like that, that moves that, that again, that barrier, that block, that moves that defense. And so now I can come in and say, this is what I need from you in my space.
Yeah. And vice versa. And I think one shift for us from a business perspective, because I felt like lines were getting blurred, right? It seemed like all of a sudden, and you don't want to get caught up in this either if you're in business with your partner, like everything and every conversation is about work. So like at night, our bedroom I felt was like our sanctuary, our protected space, especially during COVID, because we work at home and you don't have this sense of where am I? Am I at work? I'm at home. So I always wanted our bedroom to be like this place where it was, just peace, quiet. And one night you were all came in the bedroom and just started talking about work and telling me something you needed or wanted to do. And I was like, don't forget I'm your wife, because I'm just not your employee all the time or your business partner in other business all the time. I'm your wife too. So, how did that land for you, and what realization you were like, whoa. Yeah.
No, I wasn't like, whoa. I was
Yeah.
like, finally. Because
No, you were
no.
like, that's a good
Okay.
topic, babe.
So
That's
here's what we get into. You asked me a question, right? Let me answer it.
Okay,
I
go
wasn't
ahead.
like, whoa. I was like, finally, because, and I said, we need to do something with that because that's important, right? I'm not going to say, because at that time, I wasn't the person to say, well, that's what I've been saying for this whole time.
What's finally mean then?
Finally, because that's what I was saying. Like, we need to have those breaks. Like, we don't always, because again, you like to go full force when you get an idea. So remember, we had the conversations during the day when I was like, the moment you see me come out from a session when you're working from home, you were talking about something about the brand. And I said, I didn't come out of the session to do work. I need space. Like,
Yeah.
I just came out to hang out and have fun and kind of chill so I can get my mind off the last session. And so we kept going through that process, right? And then we weren't really having any time for us. It was always about business, because the things that you said, oh, I got this idea we got to do. We got to hop on this. We got to do this. We got to do that. I was like, we need to have space where we're not working. So once I got on board with your process, I came into the bedroom. I was like, okay, so whenever we're around each other, we're talking about business. Okay, so now you're in the bed. You're like, don't forget I'm your wife. I was like, yes. Yes.
Okay. So, but my point is, that night you were in there talking about business.
Right.
And so when I said that statement about, like, hey, don't forget I'm your wife, I just felt like it landed on you different, other than finally, because I felt like if it's a finally thing, you wouldn't have been talking about business in the bedroom. You know what I mean? Like,
So I see you just did y'all see that, right? She just missed my whole thing.
no,
Because we're on the same, like, we're in agreement.
no, I get it.
So when I say finally, that's something that I've been asking kind of us to like separate, like business and just us having time together. But it seemed like the moment I got out of a client, it was something for the business
Yeah.
that you needed for the other businesses, and there was no space for just us. Like, again, not having to do any business, not having to do any work. It was so important for me to kind of just escape that for a moment.
Yeah. So one thing that's really important, and I think we realized this later on, was just really finding out where we lived, right? Finding out, hey, I know Tara is good at this. I know Bashe is good at that, and I think releasing the kind of like oversee kind of thing
Yeah.
to that person really allowed us to flourish in that space and allowed the business to flourish. So when you're in partnership and you're, trying to find that you're in alignment, because you created that alignment with the branded love. And then if it was, if you need help in something and I don't have that skill set, I'm gonna get that skill set so I can help you in that. And finding that lane of where we live and understanding and embracing our weaknesses, our strengths, understanding how to trust in that process too. Because if you're going to ask me to do something and you give me the parameters, trust I'm going to do it right. And I appreciated that, because you did that, because I also felt like you saw it as, oh, this is something that's off my plate,
Mm-hmm.
that's lifted off my plate.
Yeah, that's one thing I definitely had to learn, and I think we learned that too is to um, refer out. Like we learned that to have to do everything ourselves because we were exhausted.
Yeah.
So we got to hire people to do certain things. It's just like the some of the hiring Bianca to do all that stuff.
Yeah,
Like
shout
you
out
were
to Bianca.
yeah
She's
you were
fun.
doing all that stuff by yourself. So it was like not just that, but then you're creating the graphics, then you're doing all that, and it was just like it's just way too much.
Yeah.
It's way too much. And trusting the decision or the people that we choose together, it's like, all right, we got this person
Yeah.
that's going to do this.
And having a conversation too around each other's work ethic. Right? In the beginning it was more of the operational, how do I operate? Now that we had to work, how do we make this work happen? And I know it's some stuff that you couldn't do because of the capacity or the limited capacity you had. So that led me to saying, okay, I need Bianca because I can't do it all. I think I learned the hard way that I can't do it all. And because you don't want to all of a sudden try to do everything in a business partnership because you're going to get resentment of your partner. You're going to be looking at because there's times I looked at Bashay with side eye like, when you going to do this work? Like, I'm over here by myself. What's happening?
And that's because we don't see what the other person is doing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you're doing until we have a conversation. I don't know what you're doing with your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you're doing with the other stuff. And so if we don't know what the other person is doing, we automatically assume that they're not showing up for us in this particular area.
And the important part of that too is having that conversation and listening to what the other person is doing and how it's landing on them and impacting them, and not perceiving it as, oh, here, you just telling me what you do so you could say I do this, I do that, and I'm checking it off. But embrace what they're sharing with you because it's so important that both sides are heard in a way that's not, circle back on, oh, here we go. Now I got to hear what you did and you want it to be known. You making an announcement. No, it's just, hey, this is what I'm doing for us to build. This is what I need to come off my plate. This is what I need you to do. And it's on both sides.
And also, one of the things that we had to learn with you as well is that you had to allow me. So when I would say I trusted you that you're working. So I think some part of that was you wanted to show me that you're doing certain things, and I was just like, I trust you. I know you doing this, and then I had the same thing. Like, look, this is what I'm doing as well, and so we both know that we're working. But again, having that conversation. But I know one thing that we got to do. We got to have more meetings. We've been talking about it.
Absolutely.
Like creating that structure, creating that time, and carving it out for us to have meetings to actually plan for our next business. Like we jump into businesses and then be like, all right, we're here, now what?
Yeah. And being strategic about it, really streamlining things. And in that showing, it's almost like, is this okay? I need your approval on this. Because I got in trouble last time with HR. So, but it's more along the lines, hey, I did this. Is this good? Is this approved by you? And I'll, wait for the approval. And sometimes it be kind of long waiting on. But that's when we go back to having those weekly meetings where, hey, this is what's happening in our businesses and these are the things that we need to do.
And what are our goals?
Yeah.
Like how are we getting there?
Yeah.
We definitely need to do that. So let's get on that. I mean, we be talking. This sounds good, but we
I
actually
know.
got to do that. I mean, we used to have our meetings, so let's do it so we can hold Facebook, y'all, everybody,
Yeah,
YouTube,
hold us
everything,
accountable.
hold us accountable. What day and time are we going to do that?
I mean, it has to be a Friday.
Okay.
A Friday night. That's our date night, though. So we
Let's do
don't.
Friday at 6.
And then go to date night.
Yeah.
All right, so Friday at 6.
Every Friday at 6. We're going to put it on the
6.
calendar, put it in your phone, set the
Yes.
alarm. I'm going to do the same thing.
Well, we could do 5.
See?
The earlier, the better.
Here we go.
They have
No,
time
we're
for
gonna do
date night.
6.
So, what are some, I really want to touch on some things for people to leave with. And also people to comment in our When Love Aligns Facebook group and follow us on IG at When Love Aligns TM. But, what are some positive strategies to have a productive business partnership and marriage? And, what stands out to me the most is finding your lane.
Identifying roles in the company,
Yes.
identifying roles in the business, having a structure, setting goals,
Yep.
communicating goals consistently,
Yep.
checking in on where you're at with those goals, right? And trusting your partner that whatever role that they decide to do, that they're going to complete that, they're going to follow through. And if they can't, they can come to you. It's a safe space. We talk about psychological safety in relationships, psychological safety in business. So is it on an equal playing ground where I can speak about my concerns, you can speak about your concerns, you can speak about your needs, you can speak about your wins, and your win doesn't diminish another person's experience or what they're not doing or what they can't do. So again, trusting each other, identify strengths, weaknesses, trust. I think those
compromise.
Compromise,
Because
absolutely.
that is huge. You have to compromise on some things, especially if you have a project or something that's going on that you see is going to be beneficial. Another person, I'm not doing all that. No, let's compromise on
Let's
that.
see what that looks like.
And see what it looks like. And understand each other's work style and work ethic. And we're going to put all of these strategies and tips in the When Love Aligns Facebook group too, but respecting the work and the commitment, and most importantly, supporting one another.
Yeah, boundaries too.
Yeah.
And identify, like we said in the beginning, not taking on everything that pops up because
And
it
learn
looks
what you
good.
can say no to.
Stay in your lane.
You can say no to your husband if he's asking you to do something for business. You can say no to your wife if she's asking you to do something for business. So
Except for you.
anyway, so we're going to put these tips in the Facebook group. We want you all to chime in on any strategies for partnership and marriage, business partnership, because the bottom line is what? We want to grow and create a legacy. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you'd like to continue to be a part of conversations like this, of course, tune in weekly. But head on over to our When Love Aligns Facebook group to stay connected with a community of like-minded individuals, all in the search of healthy relationships.